Is this thing a motorcycle or is it a mountain bike? Not entirely sure. Figure it out today. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the show. And today we have the Surron X Light Bee here. This thing operates in kind of a weird niche in motorcycling, and that niche is it actually a motorcycle? Kind of looks like a motorcycle a little bit. It also kind of looks a lot like a mountain bike, but it's got a bunch of motorcycle qualities about it. However, it's not plated. So what the heck is this thing? That's what we're gonna find out today. But first, you may be wondering where I came across this motorcycle and why we're out in the middle of nowhere.
And that would be from me. My name is John Joffrey. I run a lifestyle channel here on YouTube. We're doing a series called The Outliers, where we take eccentric weirdos like Jake and many others that take their passions and turn them into their paychecks. And that's exactly what we're gonna be interviewing Jake on today.
Yeah, so we actually shot a full interview a little bit earlier. It's gonna be a little bit different from what you're used to on the channel, but it's a lot of fun and it would mean a lot to me if you check it out. Link is down in the description below. Let John know exactly where you came from. Give him a subscribe. And,
thank you, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for bringing me out. And let's go play with these things and see how they feel out on the trails.
Let's do it.
Where the hell am I? Let's see if it wants to J-turn. If I gave it some more goose, the answer to that question would be yes, it would J-turn. So pulling away on the Surron, what does it feel like? What is the initial impression on this? You know, back in college, I had myself a mountain bike. I actually used to deliver sandwiches on it. I was a Jimmy John's sandwich boy. I was the reason why your sandwich got to you freaky fast. Made like $3 an hour and then a couple more in tips. But I was riding a mountain bike the whole time, and it was called the Iron Horse. It was a big-ass mountain bike. Really heavy, actually. It was close to like 60 or 70 pounds worth of bike. And you know what? It was a lot like this. The Surron it's actually a really small little motorcycle. It's very tiny, and that can serve to be a positive or a negative. It's nice that it's super small because, you know, you can literally just whip it around. You know, if you get into a situation, you just dab and you're good to go. And, you know, you counterweight so effectively on this thing. It's not like an adventure bike at all where you kind of have to think. You just sort of send this little guy and it does it. It just sort of sorts out whatever problems it's having. Like, let's see, this is a pretty steep, I'm not sure if you can see it, but this is a pretty steep descent. Let's just ride that rear brake a little bit. Yeah, there we go. And we're through, you know? It's super confidence inspiring. Perhaps too confidence inspiring. This motor is solidly potent, so I'm actually over the recommended weight limit for this motorcycle. I believe it's about 220 pounds. I'm 240 on a good day, maybe a little closer to 260 with all my gear and, you know, my camera stuff on me. It still gets up and goes every bit as fast as I would want to go off-road. You know, I'm not the kind of guy who's out here tearing it up, at least not yet. I'm more just out here looking to have a good time. And it's capable of doing that and more. This is fully capable of tearing it up and getting you into some situations. And when you get into those situations, the brakes on here, I'm not gonna lie, they definitely leave a little bit to be desired. But, you know, you do the dirt bike thing, and because it's an electric bike, it tows itself down really nicely. It gives you that engine braking feel. I've always really wanted to try a dirt bike off-road, or an electric bike off-road rather, just to see how they handle. And this feels great, But because it's so confidence inspiring, I could definitely see myself getting into a little whoopsie daisy. The giggle factor is there. How's the motor doing hauling my big self around? It's doing great, honestly. The suspension is struggling harder than the engine is. I am in sport mode. There is an eco mode, and it doesn't really get up and move all that well in eco mode. Whoa, that was some sand. But you just sort of let the bike do the thing, and it does the thing. Man, I am having a freaking ball on this guy. I'm really, really enjoying this. But let's pull this over and have a quick little conversation about the specs on here, because I have a feeling y'all are going to have the main question of, well, does it have enough battery life for me to go goof around all day? Well, let's pull it over and find out. This thing's so good. Oh my God, it's so much fun. Diving on in, this thing has 24 horsepower and 29 foot-pounds of torque, but I will caveat the horsepower number. I had to do the math on this. They rate it at 4,300 RPM, and I took their quoted number and I did the math. So it's basically torque times RPM, and then divide that by 5252, you get horsepower. So that's where that 24 number goes. One thing that does help, because those numbers aren't great, is this thing has a weight of 103 pounds, which means I can just pick it right up. It basically weighs nothing. I can hold it for a while. I can dig it out of whatever hole I put it in. I'm not worried about the weight on this thing at all. It's super, super easy. It makes it a lot of fun. It makes it very playful. Now, throwing a leg over this bike, the best thing I can say about the ergonomics is that this is a small motorcycle. It is teensy tiny, especially when I put my foot up on the peg. It definitely feels more bicycle than motorcycle. We'll talk more about that later. But, you know, it's a pretty comfortable place to sit. I've gotten used to its diminutive size. I do wish it was a little bit taller. I do wish it had a 21-inch front end, but you know what? It makes it so approachable for folks who are usually put off by the size of your average dirt bike. These things are usually very difficult for short people to get on. This makes it so approachable, and I love that. And that gives me a good opportunity to segue into my pros and cons. The biggest pro, this thing is so playful. It's so playful. You can just goof around with this. You can treat it with wanton abandon, and it loves it. You get to just goof around off-road, and you're not gonna piss anybody off. You can take this on a bike path. Shh, don't do that, but you could take it on a bike path and get away with it because it looks like a bicycle. It opens up a whole new world for motorcyclists, and I can just throw this in the back of my van. I can throw it in my Mazda. I love how small and how just easy this thing is to get along with. However, because of the size of this thing and the size of the battery, it is worth pointing out that if you're flogging it like you probably will off-road, I've been basically wide open all the time, you are gonna eat through the battery very quickly because you're outside its optimal efficiency range. The harder you ride a battery, the quicker it's going to run out of juice. I've been flogging this thing around for about a half hour, 45 minutes, and it's currently sitting at about 68%. I got this thing with 94%, and I've been goofing around a little off camera. I will say that that's a pretty acceptable amount of battery use. When I'm goofing around off-road, unless I'm doing a big adventure ride, I'm usually good after about an hour. But if you're that kind of rider who needs to go out and ride more, you can just hot swap these batteries. If you have a spare, you can just plonk it right in there. And they have a bigger battery than this stock one that's in here. Some other cons about this bike that I don't really like, I don't like the way that the brakes feel. They're a little snatchy. They're also not super responsive. I also don't like having the rear brake on the front handlebar. I've gone to grab this a couple of times and it's a little light switchy. It basically is either on or off, and I've locked the rear tire up when I don't mean to. I could get used to this, but I would prefer a pedal brake. I understand why there aren't any on here, but for me, a pedal brake would be really nice on this guy. Last thing, it's not street legal. You could throw a kit on here. You could get it to have lights and basically pass inspection and be like a little moped. I wouldn't feel super comfortable going very quick on this on the street. Off-road, who cares? Let it rip. But on the street, I'll pass. But that gives me an opportunity to kick this back out into the trails and into the woods and pontificate on whether or not this is actually a motorcycle or if it's an e-bike, if it's a mountain bike. I'm not sure. Let's hit the road and talk about it. Alrighty, folks. Now, the biggest thing that I want to do when addressing the motorcyclability or, classifying this vehicle is talk a little bit about the kind of gear that I'm wearing, because honestly, more so than looking at the motorcycle, the kind of gear really helps elucidate what I think this motorcycle is. And, obviously some of my word choice, because I keep using the word motorcycle. Yeah, I do think that this is an actual motorcycle. It's not a mountain bike. I'm wearing my full adventure regalia here. This is the same stuff that I would wear if I was out on a Pan America or if I was out on my KLR. This is my choice of off-road gear. I wear this because if I'm going to go down, I want to make sure I'm protected. And I think that you are going to be able to hit the ground every bit as hard on this as you would on a motorcycle. Yeah, it looks like a little electric dirt bike, but it's not a bicycle. It really isn't. This thing is it's not a full-size motorcycle, but it rides like one. And I think it commands the respect of an actual full motorcycle. I would take this a lot of places that I wouldn't take a KLR for sure. It's a lot easier to ride because of how teensy tiny it is, but I don't think that necessarily takes away from the actual design intent for this vehicle. It's definitely a motorcycle. No, I'm not doing that. I'm gonna take the bunny slope. Maybe I'll go up that. Let's see if I can go up that. Yeah, all right. Let's see here. Oh man, that's a steep hill. Okay, I'm gonna get a run at that one. Come on, Surron. No. That ain't gonna do it. Okay, there we go. That was a hill climb I wasn't prepared for. Another reason why I think that this classifies really nice as like a lightweight motorcycle is all of the skills that you have for riding a dirt bike, they're going to transfer onto this little guy. You ride this just like you would ride a normal dirt bike. It's every bit as difficult. You can hear it in my voice. I'm huffing and puffing. I'm working to ride this thing. But I'm working in the same way I would work to ride a 250. When I was riding the Husky in Colorado and Utah, I was working about as hard as I was on this. But I'll tell you what, having ridden both this now and that Husky, I'm having way more fun on this because it's lower stakes. It's a lot lower stakes. I can just, send it and see what happens. It's not as fire breathing. It really feels like it would be the perfect choice for somebody who wants a 250 style motorcycle. If you're thinking about, I want a cheap little 250 bike, maybe give yourself a look at the Surron. This thing is sweet. I'm really enjoying it, and it feels like a dirt bike. Now, with all of that being said, let's pull this thing back over and let's see what the Discord boys have to say about this, whether or not they have any questions specific to whether or not an electric bike can really serve to be a fun trail accessory, whether or not this is a city bike, all of that good stuff. Let's pull over and talk about it. Get. Huh. Easier than loading up any adventure bike. Okay, this is the part of the reviews that's always my favorite. It is when I sit down and answer some Discord questions. So let's dive on in and see what the Discord boys have to say about the little Surron here. So starting off with Dasco asking, the weight capacity is 100 kilograms or 220 pounds. Is it big enough for the American consumer? Yes. Yeah, I am over the weight capacity of this motorcycle, and I'm having a ton of fun goofing around on this. Could I be going faster if I was lighter? Sure. Am I probably using more battery power than other people? Yeah, probably, but I don't care. I'm still having a ton of fun. Jake Smith, top speed. Dunno, haven't looked. Feels like maybe 30 miles an hour out here. It can go as fast as I'm willing to ride it off-road. It could probably go faster if I just stuck at wide open, but honestly, I never hit a stretch that's really long enough for me to want to just absolutely gun it. I'm completely content with the speed, frankly. Magic Toaster, the electric simp here on the channel. I know Corgi's out there, he's probably got a question a little bit later on, but Magic Toaster is really the electric simp out there, let's be real. He is asking, is this the gateway drug for people to get into electric riding? Yeah, absolutely. This is totally a way to get people into realizing how handy an electric bike is. You don't have to do any maintenance on this thing. You've got like a teaspoon of fluid in each one of these, although it looks like it's the Magura Dragon's Blood stuff, so this like lasts 2 years. You might have to adjust the chain and do some fork oil and stuff, but you'd have to do that on a normal bike anyway. This is all of the fun of a dirt bike without actually having to do all of the other dirt bike stuff. Totally a gateway drug. Full Metal Corgi asking, for the same cost, would I rather convert an old bike to an EV with better performance or just buy the Surron? Honestly, I just take this because I can fit it in my car. A full-size dirt bike is a full-size dirt bike, and you need to have a way to carry it to and fro. You need a truck to put it in. This you can just put in your car and be done with it. I really like this, and I would definitely do this over a conversion. White and Blue asking, is moped life enjoyable on it, and would you be okay with a 14 to 15-year-old riding it? Yeah, I mean, in eco mode, it's a lot calmer. You'd still be able to get going pretty quick. I think it's governed at about 30 to 35 miles an hour. But I mean, it's just, you can just click it into sport mode super easily, and then you get full beans. So yeah, I'd be okay putting a kid on this. It feels like, feels kid appropriate with maybe some adult supervision. And as far as moped life goes, there's no storage on this. If you were gonna try to moped it around town, I would like to put like a little bike rack or something on here so that you can, put your baguettes and live your European dream on your little electric bike. ATX Rick, do you think that this could be easily mistaken for a bicycle, leading to rider possibly having some awesome shenanigans? Austin has some great mountain biking opportunities. Yeah, you could definitely take this on mountain bike trails. The owner of this, who's 360 pounds, by the way, he's bigger than me, and he rides these and has a freaking blast on them. He has 2 of these. This is the other one, not the one I've been riding. And he rides them on the Greenbelt here in Austin and just goofs around with his buddies. You could definitely get yourself up to some serious shenanigans on one of these. They don't make noise, they don't bother people. It's just a bicycle, but it's a motorcycle. So you get all the fun of motorcycle, but all the incognito of bicycle, which is super cool. And with that, guys, I'm going to kick it back out to the trails one more time, and we're gonna answer the question, who is this thing really for, and do I really want to add one of these to my stable? Spoiler alert, I really do. This thing's awesome. Let's get out there and talk about it. Now, the real difficult question is, who is this motorcycle for? I've been struggling with that for the entire time I've been goofing around on this thing. Usually when it comes to electric bikes like this, and I'm completely lost, I have no clue where I am. But when it comes to electric motorcycles like this, I think the biggest thing that you hear a lot of in reviews is, and I've said it myself, and I've heard Stefano from Energica say it directly to my face, is that these bikes are for early adopters. That they're not meant for, the normal motorcycle enthusiast. They're meant for somebody who has another motorcycle in the stable. And more so than most, I think that that part is true. I don't necessarily, though, believe that this is an early adopter vehicle. I think that this is a well enough rounded package that anybody who's on a motorcycle who wants to have a nice little lightweight bike that they can literally throw in the back of their truck, the back of their sedan even, and go goof around, give the Surron a try, man. Like, seriously. This one has wider appeal to me from where I sit. This electric bike has wider appeal than a lot of the other electrics that I've ridden. It's got more to offer more people with the eco mode. So I just dropped it into eco mode. It slows it down a considerable amount, and it allows you to get a lot more life out of the battery. Not a ton, but certainly more than you were getting before. Is that all mud? Let's see. Yep. Great. That's just soggy wet clay. Okay. Awesome. Come on, bike. Come on. There we go. Come on. It's just a freaking mud pit out here because it's been raining so much. Oh, there we go. Okay. Whew. That was not fun. But, you know what? That actually goes to prove a lot of what I was trying to say before I got myself winded by pulling this bike out of a mud pit. The stakes are so much lower on this thing that you can just take those risks. Like, I was like, is that mud? Kind of looks like it's dried up. Let's send it. And then I got it stuck. If I was out here by myself with my KLR, I would need to call for backup. I would not have been able to get my KLR out of that mud pit. This, I was able to just sort of pull it back out. Sure, it wasn't graceful, but nothing that I do is graceful. And you know what? I've said it before, but I'm going to say it again. For being as little as it is, and for me being as big as I am, I'm stunned with how well this thing can deliver power and still entertain me goofing around out here. Yeah, I'm not, setting any track times. I'm not, absolutely riding the wheels off of it. But you can have a really good time with this thing, regardless of how big you are. If you were lighter and you could get it to go faster, sure, yeah, that would definitely help. I still think that even a bigger rider is going to find a lot of fun to be had on this guy. But I don't think it's going to serve to be your only bike. I definitely think you need to have another one in the stable, just so that you can, have something that actually has legs. This thing has legs insofar as I'm goofing around in this little park, and I wouldn't want to do much more than this sort of thing. Just, I'm out here riding the trails and goofing around, having some fun. Maybe if I could plate it and put some lights on it. I mean, there is a license plate bracket back there, so theoretically, I bet you could put a light kit on here. It'd be great for bopping around town, but only just, around your neighborhood. Maybe you're doing a little bit of grocery shopping or something. But it's a little bit tough to be, this is your one and only motorcycle. It's just that doesn't make sense. But think about it like this. You're the typical city scum like me. You live in a, kind of tighter metropolitan area. I am lucky enough to have a garage now, but I used to not. If I was just looking for something that would get me around my neighborhood, get me to my HEB and back, this is it. And if you're worried about range, you can just hot swap these batteries while you're out on the trails. Put a battery in your backpack, and then if you run out, you just pop a new one in there. I see value in something that I can literally just throw in the back of my Mazda, let alone the back of my E350 van. This takes up so little room in the back of my van that I could fit like probably half a dozen of these in there. I do want to take a second to talk about price. $4,500 is, I think, a little high, but appropriate. I think that for the price you're paying for the bike you're getting, $4,500 seems about right. There are going to be people out there who are going to be like, that's way too much money for me for something that I can only have around as a toy, and I totally understand that. But for me, I would get it. This Surron definitely gets a thumbs up for me, and I really recommend, if you're thinking about adding something like this to your stable, just do it, man. Just do it. This thing's killer. I really like it, and who knows? Maybe I'll throw one of these in the back of my van one of these days soon. I could really make the case for it. I think I could. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think about these little motorcycle, mountain bike, electric bike, hybrid dealies, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. See you later.